Alright, real talk. If you're just getting into data, interviews are straight up terrifying. Like, you've been grinding SQL tutorials, wrestling Excel like it owes you money, and finally made a dashboard that doesn't look like it was built in the 90s. And just when you're starting to feel a little confident, that's when you get that message, the magical message that says, hey, we loved your resume. Are you free for a quick Zoom call tomorrow? And you're like, tomorrow? Yes. Because, obviously, you're not going to say no because that's exactly what you've been manifesting for months at this point. So you hop on that call with your camera on, with your smile fully loaded, and you're like, let's go. And that's when the recruiter hits you with that dreaded question. So tell me about yourself. And that's when your brain decides to just log off and leave. Absolutely ghost you. And you're just sitting there like, I really like data and charts. Yo, you're not dumb. You know your shit. But the moment it comes to talk about your work, that's when you freeze. Your brain just gets jammed and your confidence just leaves the group chat like, I'm out. Here's the thing that no one really wants to talk about. It's not really your fault because interviews are awkward. They're just meant to be. They're just these weird little role plays where you pretend like you already worked there, except you're just sweating down your pants. They're just high-stake, artificial, unnatural conversations where you're just judged on your ability to explain things that you normally just do, unless you've trained for them. Like actually trained, your brain's gonna fumble every single time. Because interviews aren't about what you know, they're about how you explain what you know under pressure. So in this video, here's what we're gonna be breaking down. Why interviews feel so weird, awkward, and broken. The 3 mental traps that trip up beginners, and a dead simple system to walk into your next interview calm, sharp, and actually thinking like an analyst. You're not broken, you're just new. So let's get right into it. You're supposed to come across as cool, confident, super professional, and somehow already an expert in a job that you've never done before. And to top it off, you're doing this over Zoom while your laptop fan sounds like it's about to take off. Your cat decides that now is the right time to hop onto your desk, and that half a second of a lag that makes everything so much more painful. And if you're in tech, it gets so much weirder. Because one minute you're talking about your passion for data, the next you're sketching out a join clause on a virtual whiteboard, trying to ignore the fact that you're just sweating. And that's when, out of nowhere, you get a question. Tell me about a time that you influenced stakeholders. And you're just out there like, does convincing myself to finish my capstone project count? It's not just nerves, it's the format itself. You've been grinding away at Python, SQL, dashboards. You spent so much time learning Python, SQL, building your dashboards. You've got the technical side down, but nobody really prepares you for the storytelling side of things, because interviews aren't about reciting tutorials. They're about how you think, how you communicate, how you handle ambiguity in real time. And that's when most people get tripped up on. You're technically prepared, but narratively severely underprepared. And it shows when your story just doesn't land, when you keep rambling on, and when you leave out that one keyword that the interviews are actually trying to look for. That's what we're going to be fixing now. Let's talk about the real reason interviews mess with your head. It's not the pressure, it's not the Wi-Fi, it's you spiraling into every single mental trap. Let's break him down one by one. Starting off with the resume spiral. You log into your Zoom call and immediately think, they're gonna find out that I'm a fraud. My projects are just trash and I've never had a real data job. This must have been a mistake and I should have been a barista. Just stop and breathe. You know who also thought that you had an amazing portfolio, project, or CV? Them. That's why they invited you to the call. You didn't break in like some career criminal hacking the system. You weren't like, surprise, I'm here to ruin your hiring process. No, they saw your resume and they clicked schedule an interview, they sent an email, and there you go. That's your golden ticket. They're not looking for the data messiah. They're looking for someone who gives a damn. They're looking for someone who actually gives a damn. Someone who's willing to learn, grow, and not talk in SQL 24/7. Your job isn't to prove that you're a genius, it's to show that you're not allergic to progress. Next is a jargon trap. You're like, okay, time to sound smart. I'm gonna use the biggest words I know and gonna hit them with the technical stuff. So that's when you say things like, I optimized end-to-end ETL pipelines, leveraging scalable architecture. Just stop. What did he just say? Because those are the kind of things that sound like a TED Talk written by ChatGPT and a side of Red Bull. Just say something simple, like, I built a thing that made messy data clean, and now people can actually use it to make strategic business decisions. That's it. This is just a job interview, because that's when you need clarity. They're not hiring you to speak fluent buzzwords. They just want to know, can you actually build something useful for the business and explain it without sounding like you just swallowed a product manual? Next is the guessing game. You try to read the interviewer's mind like it's a psychic showdown. Okay, so they mentioned Tableau, so I'm gonna say I love Tableau. What if I say SQL? Do I love SQL? Do I not like SQL? Am I a dashboard person? Do I like coffee? What am I? That's when you turn into a walking LinkedIn nightmare. Because listen, interviews aren't trying to trap you in a logic puzzle. They're not like, ha, you picked the wrong buzzword and now you die. They just want real answers, just honest ones. If you don't know something, that's okay. Just say that. Say that you don't actually know it, but you're very much willing to learn it, and maybe a learning process as well. That's not really weakness. That's self-awareness. That's the thing most people actually miss. Because interviews aren't about knowledge, they're about signal. And the 3 key signals you can give are skill, clarity, and calm. Let me give you examples. Can you solve a problem? Can you think logically? Can you analyze clearly, code when you actually need to, and pull the insights when the data is really messy? That's how you show skill. Clarity is whether or not you can actually explain things without sounding like a LinkedIn post on steroids. And calm is when you breathe through the chaos and think clearly when you're blanking and not spiraling when a question catches you off guard. If you can even show 2 of those, you're definitely going to be in the top 20% of the applicants, and if it's all 3 of them, you can expect an offer very soon. Because the wild part is, you don't need 5 years of experience to show any of them. You just need repetitions, you need to train, and you just need to start treating interviews like it's a sport, one that rewards people who practice. Let's talk about exactly how to do that. Alright, breathe. Let's get you out of panic mode into prep mode, because right now you're not preparing, you're just spiraling endlessly. You're scrolling through leak code, trying to memorize 100 SQL queries like you're studying for a test that was written by Cyborg, because no, this is preparing for humans. We're not going for memorization, we're going for muscle memory. Let's build a system that actually works. That's not just for your brain, but for your nervous system as well. Starting off with the big 5 story. You need 5 stories in your back pocket, locked and loaded. These should be the greatest stories you're willing to share at the tip of your fingers. How you got into data, a project that you built without quitting, a time that something just didn't go the way you want, something broke, and how you fixed it without actually breaking down. And maybe how you worked with someone who really wasn't the greatest team player. And finally, also something like why you actually want this job. Not a job, but this particular job. Try to keep each one within 90 seconds and that's it. Because you're not delivering a TED Talk. You're trying to sound competent. So just chill like a human. Say it out loud. Record yourself. Do it until it feels natural, like you actually mean it, not like you're reading cue cards at a spelling bee. Next is to narrate your SQL. This one's quite huge because you're not just writing code, you're thinking out loud. So pull up a basic SQL challenge and talk through it like, I need to join these 2 tables on user ID. Looks like we want to group by month over here, and nulls, gotta check for those and try to see how I can get rid of them. Because that voice, that's the real you. And that's what interviews want to hear, to see just the way you think. Not some copy-paste lead code solutions. They just want to see how you think when things get a bit messy. Because real jobs, they don't come with clean instructions. They come with chaos, broken dashboards, and someone named Karen from finance team asking why your reports are late by an hour. Next, I suggest doing the mirror drill. Just record yourself by answering behavioral questions like, tell me about a time you failed. What's your biggest strength? How do you handle feedback? Then here's the hardest part, watch it back. Because yes, you're gonna cringe, and that's the point. When you cringe, that's when you learn, that's when you grow, and that's when you fix any of the mistakes you've made. Just use it to tighten it up, cut the fluff, and get to the actual point. Next, I'd say to ask better questions. The interview isn't just about them grilling you to the brim. You're also interviewing them. So when they ask you, if you have any questions at the end, please never say no. Ask something like, how does the data team partner with stakeholders here? What's the onboarding process like for junior data analysts? And what's the thing that you enjoy the most being part of your team? Because now you're genuinely curious about the company. You're trying to be smart about it and actually be interested in what the business does rather than just a paycheck or, company hoodie. Next is to build a recovery script. You absolutely need this because let's be real, you will blank. You're gonna forget something or perhaps everything. And it's fine. That's not failure, that's just being alive. So when your brain glitches mid-question, just say something like, that's a great question. Do you mind if I take a few seconds to think it through? That's not really weak, that's composed. That's what actual pros do. And if you don't know the answer, just say that. Say something like, I haven't done this before, but here's how I actually go about learning it or trying it out. You just turn your I don't know into strategic curiosity. And guess what? Hiring managers absolutely love that. Let me tell you how I learned this, kind of the hard way. My first data interview was terrible. It was an absolute meltdown. So this guy shares his screen, right? He pulls up this raw data set, just columns and chaos, just no context. It looked like some copy-pasted CSV from a haunted printer. He's like, can you walk me through how you clean this? And I had no idea. My brain was like, you know what to do. So this dude shares his screen, right? Pulls up this raw data set, just columns and chaos, no context. It looks like someone copy-pasted a CSV from a haunted printer. And he just goes, can you walk me through how you clean this? And I'm just there blank with no response because my brain actually told me, okay, so we know what to do. But my mouth actually said, absolutely not. I panicked and I said something really weird about pivot tables. Like we were stuck in an Excel tutorial from 2008. I then apologized just mid-sentence and I felt like I was writing a breakup text to my confidence. Because that's when I made it worse by trying to overcorrect. Next thing I know, I somehow ended up recommending fuzzy matching and just inventing use cases the interviewer didn't even need. He was just so confused. And right after the interview, I closed down the Zoom tab and just laid on the floor, face down with carpet on my mouth, saying, that's it, I'm done. I'm never ever speaking again. Maybe I should just help my cousin with his bakery. Maybe I'm just not meant for it. But here I am. Because here's what changed. I just stopped winging it. I stopped trying to be impressive and started to actually be clear. I treated it like a sport. Kept practicing, just out loud, in the mirror, in my car, in the line at Starbucks. I built stories that actually sounded like me. I made a little checklist. I ran drills. I recorded myself. And yes, I cringed a lot. But I kept going. And guess what? It worked. Not overnight, not after one TED Talk and a matcha latte, but eventually it just clicked. Because interviews, they're not a test of perfection, they're a test of composure. And composure, that's a skill, it can be trained, just repeated and practiced. Just like SQL, just like storytelling, and just like anything else that used to terrify you. Until it didn't. Because if you're nervous about interviews, that's okay. You're not broken, you're not soft, and you're not cut out for this. You're just new. That's it. You've never done this before, or maybe you've only done it a few times and every single time feels like a high stakes spelling bee where the word normalization comes up and the prize was your entire career. Of course you're nervous. But listen, nerves are not the enemy. The goal isn't to eliminate the jitters. This isn't a yoga class. You're not trying to find your center. You're trying to talk about your capstone project, your volunteer projects, while your voice cracks and your upper lip sweats like it's in a sauna. The goal is to practice through the nerves. So what do? Tell your story, not the one you think they want to hear, the real one, the one that's actually you. I was really lost and then I found data, then I actually found myself kind of story. I know it's messy, but that's you. Explain your processes. Don't just list the tools like a resume robot. Say how you think, what you considered, what you almost did but didn't, maybe why. That just shows depth. And ask good questions, not basic stuff like what's the culture like. Ask actual things like how does the team learn together? What's a recent incident where someone messed up and came back from? Those are the real things. And a bonus is actually asking them what's the best thing or their favorite thing as part of the team. Just own the awkward pauses. You're gonna blank, you're gonna stumble, you're gonna fumble a lot. So what? You're human. Say something like, give me a second to think that through. Because if you say that, you're not panicking, you're just composing. That's just grown-up energy, I'd say. You're here to bring clarity, curiosity, and calm. And let me tell you, that's actually what stands out. Way more than some fancy window function. Way more than cross-functional stakeholder synergy with a straight face. That calmness, that honesty, and that realness, that's the actual qualities that people actually remember. And let's build that together. If you like this, just drop me a subscribe because I'm trying something new and let me know your honest feedback. I'll see you in the next one.